Hey everybody, welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 100 of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh, here to help you get that sober life you want. Thank you for hanging out with me today and listening to the pod. Usually I'd be in your little earbuds at the gym, but we can't go to the gym right now. I know that's taking a toll on a lot of us, definitely me for sure. I was talking to one of our groups the other day, one of our online meetings, and just about how I'm really starting to miss life. And I know you're feeling that too. Am I right? Everybody's feeling it. I haven't seen my mom in weeks. You know, I go to breakfast with my father every Saturday. We've done it literally for almost a decade. I haven't seen my father in weeks. I miss restaurants and coffee shops and the mall. And as all that discomfort settles in, it starts to make you feel kind of sad. And you guys know in the Facebook group, I've been offering online meetings almost every day and sometimes 2 a day. You need to be connected, you need to be supported, and that's exactly what we're doing. And now beyond that, our new membership community is live with more opportunities to connect and more tools and support, all that good stuff. And we're going to have live workshops in there. There's going to be special gifts and opportunities to win prizes. And I'm giving you the entire month of April totally free. The point is just to stay connected and offer more support for less money. That's it. You can join the Inner Circle membership community for free using promo code FREEAPRIL. And you can find that on My Recovery Toolbox, www.myrecoverytoolbox.com. Under the Courses tab, click on Inner Circle Membership, and it'll take you to the checkout page. And on the checkout page, you enter promo code FREEAPRIL, and you'll get this month absolutely free. And we have 2 celebrations, you guys. Not only is this our 100th episode, which is amazing, but Addiction Unlimited also turned 2 on April 4th. You guys really have made this such an amazing project for me, and I can't believe what an incredible community we've created. And 100 episodes, like that's a pretty cool milestone in podcast world. And I had some celebrations planned for our online community, but obviously, coronavirus has different ideas. And since coronavirus has thrown things completely off track, I decided it was more important to be committed to you and to spend my time in online meetings with you and to fast track creating that membership site so you have another place to feel safe and just to be with your tribe. You know, it's so important for us as addicted people to be with our tribe. Like we have to look out for one another and protect each other and love one another because, you know, other people won't do it as well as we will. And honestly, spending time with you guys is way cooler than any celebration I could do. So we will look forward to our birthday next year, and we'll plan some amazing drawings and contests and giveaways, and we'll do it big next year. But right now, it's been just an amazing opportunity for me to get to know you guys on a personal level, right? Doing those online meetings and getting to sit in meetings with you has just been really, really special. And I appreciate everybody that has been participating in that too. It's been really fun. Like I said, we're doing it through the Facebook group, 1, sometimes 2 meetings a day. And I think it's been really good for all of us. Oh, also, I forgot to say this, but in our membership community, we have 2 online recovery meetings every week. Totally free. It's part of the membership. Twice a week recovery meetings, not AA or NA or anything else, just pure recovery conversation. All addicts are welcome and allies of addicts are welcome. So family members, Al-Anons, anybody addicted to anything, I love all of you. So everybody is welcome. Now, let's get into what the heck we are talking about today. In August last year, 2019, I brought you a guest who explored personality types with you. It's episode number 68, and it's my lovely friend, Carrie. And there are a lot of personality assessments out there that talk about like behavior and habits, but this is color code, and color code is a little bit different. I wanted to record a podcast about this right now, just because this is such a strange time that we're in. And I wanted to give you some insight about getting along with the people around you. Many of us are quarantined, right? On some level, working from home, kids are home, and you're not used to this level of togetherness. You're probably feeling a bit on edge. There's a lot of fear going on, fear of the future, fear of the unknown. And that leads to reactions and responses that are not our norm, right? We all behave differently under stress. And you know, especially those of you who work with me privately, you know I'm all about looking inward, understanding your own drama and behavior so you aren't blaming others for your circumstances and playing the victim. This is my entire coaching premise. Know yourself, mind yourself, and fix yourself. And as we're currently trapped at home with our loved ones, this felt like a great time to bring Carrie back to talk about our core personality motives, how that affects our behavior, and to understand the personalities of those around you so you can honor and respect one another and be more patient and loving and get through this crazy situation a little easier. I love this stuff. I know you guys do too, because we had an overwhelming response after the last episode we did. Again, that's episode number 68. I think I will link that in the show notes. And Carrie is offering a free gift to Addiction Unlimited listeners. In the show notes, I'll include a link where you can go take the personality assessment for free and learn what color you are. And I am going to offer another bonus. To our Inner Circle member community, you will have access to a quick guide to the colors. Members get access to the podcast episodes a day early. So if you look in your member area where the podcast episode is, the color code quick guide will be there for you. It just tells you a little bit more about the colors as you explore it and try to figure out the people around you and what they are and figure out what your kiddos are. It's actually really fun. And this one is quite a bit different and it's very cool. It's super accurate and I love this stuff. And this is the last bonus, I promise. We're going to do a drawing for one lucky person to win a free personality debrief with Carrie. You get your full report. She goes into detail with you about your personality and how it works in your life. And if you click on the link in the show notes, take the color code assessment, you'll be automatically entered to win. It's so cool. This is the kind of cool stuff we're going to get to do in our member site and through the Facebook group. And I love doing this stuff. I love doing giveaways. It's one of my favorite things. Watch your email too, because I will email you all of the info and the links. So make sure you're getting your emails from us. Make sure you're opening your emails from us. And I'm going to give you until April 22nd to get your free assessment, which automatically enters you in the drawing for the full profile and session with Carrie. That's 2 weeks. So don't F around. That's 2 weeks. And if you love this episode, please share it. If you have friends that you think would be interested in color code and wanting to learn their personality and what color they might be or what color their spouses might be or their kiddos might be, share this episode so they can have the link and all the info too. Okay, let's welcome Carrie. Here we go. Carrie, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Hi, Angela. Thanks for having me back.
I think this is going to be really cool, especially this piece just about getting along, right? Because it's a challenge for everybody. And I know for me, this has been really fun, like learning a lot of this stuff from you because you know it better than anybody. But it really does make you understand people on a different level. So tell the listeners a little bit about the color code and why it's different.
Okay, the color code is, first of all, it's not behavior based, it's motive based. And it's a personality theory that was authored by Dr. Taylor Hartman. And Dr. Hartman, he's a therapist, and he felt like he wasn't really getting deep enough or getting answers to why people do what they do with his working with his patients. And he felt like there wasn't enough truth being delivered in mental health and that people wanted answers. And instead of just going to a therapist and talking about, what your problems are, he wanted to deliver the why people do what they do and why other people do what they do. It's motive based, and by saying motive based, is it goes many levels deeper than just behavior. Behavior it can change. So, depending on if we're at work or trauma, if you're drinking, there's, how you were raised. Those are all different things that can affect how you behave. But motive it's something that never changes. It's with us at birth. So the theory is that we're born with this intact personality and it doesn't change through our life. There are other things as you grow and mature that can affect your secondary color, and we'll kind of get into that. And then also becoming character, just becoming more mature, being emotionally mature, and just being able to communicate, lots of things like that. So the four basic colors or the four motives, the colors mean nothing. All they do is represent what the motives are. So the motives are power, peace, intimacy, and fun. And we always start with the reds because they get angry if we don't.
That's me, by the way. I'm a red.
Reds are motivated by getting from A to B, by getting things done. So they're all about living in the
power, right? Core motive is power.
Yes, core motive is power. So they have gifts of leadership. They're very visionary. They communicate logically, and then they're very decisive. But that power, it's not control. It's just power, A to B, getting things done. Then we have the blues, and the blues motive is intimacy. And that's just all about a deep, meaningful connection. They're very relational. They want to relate. They want to be understood. It's a personal connection. It's not sex. Reds often think that it's sex. It's not. It's that, being on the same page. And then they just have natural gifts of quality and service. They're very other orientated. They think of others. They're very thoughtful. They're emotion based, very sincere. And then there's the whites, and their core motive is peace. And they bring gifts of clarity and tolerance. They're very kind people. They are logic based, passive. They communicate kind of passively, and very tolerant. And peace meaning like an internal zen when there's a lot going on around. They avoid conflict. They just can kind of go along to get along sometimes, but very easy to get along with people. And then we have our yellows, and the yellow core motive is fun. So they're all about living in the moment. They're very present. And there's no grand definition for fun. It just is fun. They bring the gifts of enthusiasm and optimism, very, energetic and vibrant personalities. And they communicate more on like a superficial type of level, but they are emotion-based, very enthusiastic. And looking at the four different motives, some of the ways that you can kind of tell the difference are, we look at control. The reds and the blues are the power personalities. They're like the lions and the tigers and the bears. They're the strong personalities. They're kind of attracted to each other that way too. And the reds are, as far as control, they control. And then the yellows and the whites do not want to be controlled. So they run from control. So they're like the squirrels and the rabbits and the chipmunks of the animal kingdom. And then we look at, so there's control, who wants to be controlled, who doesn't. And then we look at whether they're logic-based or emotion-based. So our blues and yellows are emotional-based. They're very feeling people. And then our reds and whites are logic-based. So they think before they do things. They make their decisions. They think through things first instead of going kind of with their feelings first. So that's just a little bit about the four different colors, or their motives, we should say. So, and why this is different is because when you know somebody's motive, you can understand why they do what they do. It is the fastest way to build trust, like in team building and business. When you know where somebody's coming from, it like level sets what expectations are. So you don't expect things from people that they're just not capable of delivering. We wouldn't expect like a red to be super emotional, because once you know what their core motive is, and that if it's a core motive is a red, they may not be able to be as emotional as you are if you're a blue. So just knowing, we just don't get as disappointed in other people, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where the value comes in, is just knowing why somebody does what they do. Because when you know the why, then you can connect with them much faster, and you can be effective with them much quicker. Dr. Hartman says it eliminates 6 months of therapy of trying to get to what the real issues are just by knowing what somebody's motive is.
And I like that you point out too that there is this charactered piece, right? Because as a red, I know, like obviously I identify with so many of the red things for sure, but there are a lot of red things that are different in me now, but I know it is my core, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I've done so much work on myself,
Right.
and certainly as a result of AA, and you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
really grow up, you become very emotionally intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not fighting the process, I
Right.
guess.
Yes.
I guess you could fight it. So yeah, I like that you pointed that out too, that it's not about every single thing being cookie cutter and exact and that you're going to match every single thing perfectly.
No.
It really is that core thing that's inside of me. And since you and I have talked about this, and it's so funny, like you'll point things out. I think we were talking about this the other day, where I always perceive things as respectful or disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like I always talk about things that irritate me and I'm like, it's so disrespectful. And I remember one time you were like, well, of course you think it's disrespectful. You're a red.
Yeah.
Everything is respect, disrespect.
Yeah.
You know, that's just how I internalize it. And it's just been really fascinating. And that's why I thought it would be kind of cool to go through some of those strengths and limitations of each color and how to communicate with each other. Because I know you helped me with this too. I had a house leader at one of my sober living houses that was just driving me crazy.
Right.
I mean, driving me crazy because I'm a very clear communicator, you know, and I'm like, we would have these conversations and he was on board and then I would leave and like, he wouldn't do anything. And I was like, what are you doing? You said you were going to do it. And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, oh my God, he's killing me. And you're like, oh yeah, I bet he's a yellow. Yeah. And I did. I had him take the assessment and he was a yellow. And I was like, I can't deal with these fun people. Like, this is just not, this whole fun yellow thing is not my thing. I need people to get some stuff done.
I'm so glad you brought that up because it really brings up a good point, and that is what motive means. A motive is like breathing. So for you as a red, getting from A to B, when you're not getting to B, it's like choking, like you cannot breathe, which is what you really just described, right? So, and the same for like a blue that's not connecting, a blue that doesn't have those, connections, that's choking. They're not getting that. For the white to not have peace, same deal. To be in a environment where there's a lot of conflict, it's like they can't breathe. And then also with the yellow not having fun, and not fun in all areas of their lives, because a charactered yellow, an emotionally mature yellow, is responsible is these other things. However, there's got to be some area of life that they feel like they're having fun. So when you're not getting things done, moving the needle, of course, you're just going to feel like, and then the yellow probably is like, God, why is she being such a jerk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, or anybody can think about this if they live with the red. It's like, God, why are they being such a jerk? They're not being a jerk. They're just not getting to be. They're choking. So the more you can, and this is like this so fascinating to me, is that, and I love teaching this stuff because how many people don't realize that other people don't see the world through the same lens that they do.
Right.
There's that book, The New Pair of Glasses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you wear red glasses. I wear yellow glasses. I don't see things in that the same way that you see things, which I think gives us great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're constantly like stimulating each other because we're always thinking about, why do you think that? It's just fascinating. Like, oh, like the respect thing. It's like, that wouldn't even bother me, right?
Yeah.
However, when like you knew he was yellow, then we talked further about, don't put the person in a leadership position,
Right. Right.
Now, that's not saying yellows cannot be in a leadership position. Any color can do any job. Any color can lead. I've known whites who are not necessarily natural leaders be fantastic leaders. That's becoming charactered. So,
right.
Yeah, that's growing outside yourself and developing strengths that are not natural to you. For a yellow to be responsible, to really become a responsible yellow, that's just like the best gift. I have chills. You get to know a responsible yellow because they show up.
Yeah.
Yellows don't show up naturally.
Right. Okay, so let's go through the strengths and limitations in a little bit about. I know that's kind of what we've been talking about anyway, but let's just go through each color and you kind of explain what pieces you think are most important.
For the reds, I would say, reds are decisive. They're good if they make 51% of the decisions right, because they know the other 49% would have been right if you hadn't screwed up. They're responsible. Like I just said with the yellows, they're just naturally responsible. If there's a gap, in business or at home, a red's not going to sit around and wait for somebody else to do it. A red's not going to sit around and wait for the dishes to be done. They're just going to step in and do it. They see what needs to be done and they do it. Just natural leaders.
That's so true. I'm such a doer.
Yeah.
Like I just do. I don't want to think about it or mess around. Like I
Yeah.
just do.
Yeah. They're not passive aggressive, They're just very direct, can be critical. Now they may step in and do the dishes, but they're going to make sure that you all know how stupid you are for not doing the dishes.
I do not have that quality anymore.
And I'm going to use a lot of like at home. Obviously, we are all at home because of the coronavirus. Well, not all of us, but most of us. And so I'm going to use a lot of examples of home instead of more so corporate because we're working from home. So now we have new coworkers, which are our families, but very task dominant, the reds are. And
Okay, so what is a red going to do with all this downtime? Like, what is that going to look like in the house? Because for me, well, first of all, I don't have anybody else at my house to boss around, so that works out for everybody.
Yeah.
But also, but I'm busy, right? Like, because
Right.
I've always worked from home, so that's not a big. Like, I'm still busier than
Yeah.
ever. So, but what for somebody else who is now working from home or laid off, like,
Right.
what will a red do with all this downtime being trapped at the house?
Well, a lot. They're going to get a lot done and they're going to make sure that others do too. And I think that's one of the things you and I talked about is that this is an opportunity for all of us to really expand and grow our relationships. And we're under stress that not just the risk to our health, but the economic stress. There's a lot of questions and all of us are under stress and people behave differently under stress than they do under normal situations. And so we talk about the motives and each of the colors behave differently. So if a red under stress, there's certain behaviors that we have, we go to our limitations. However, under like extreme stress, we go to our secondary colors. So for instance, you're a red and then you've got blue and white, right? The other colors?
I'm almost equal parts the other three colors, but I think blue is a little
The
stronger.
dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah, your true
But
secondary.
it literally is like a percentage or two
So that's
between all of them.
That's a great example because if you have over 60% of a core color, you're more of a purist, meaning that your behavior is going to be more congruent and consistent and people are going to know what to expect from you.
Yeah.
If you've got a blend like you do, Angela, we're pretty even and balanced, the benefits of that, it's not going to be hard for you to stretch outside yourself and learn the gifts or the strengths of the other colors.
Oh, yeah. I would say that for sure.
Yeah,
Because
and-
I relate to so many of them when you talk about stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's totally me. Yeah.
Right. Now, the downside to that is that you can be inconsistent. One day you can be a decisive red and all the strengths of the red. Then you could go to a white limitation and be indecisive, right? So for somebody to see, that wouldn't be you.
No, I'm very
How about lazy?
Lazy.
Lazy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then there we go with the lazy. So then a lazy red, that's really, people are like, what the heck? Those don't really add up when you think of a red. So
I talk about that on the podcast all the time too, that like my default mode is so freaking lazy. My whole life, so lazy. And some days I still am, but that is my default mode, is to be very lazy. And that's why I have so many cool life hacks, because I have to make things as easy as humanly possible or I won't do them because I'm lazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that's not a red thing. It's a white thing. Whites are lazy. But reds are efficient and you want to be efficient. So that's what drives
Very
you
much
there.
so, yeah.
But just, I guess, to identify, people that we're living with and then also in ourselves under stress in these certain situations, for a red's going to delegate. They're going to get productive. They're going to become very productive because they don't sit around. And then they're going to make sure everybody around them is productive. So they start delegating. It's hilarious. It's one of the things that I can tell, like when I do consulting work with CEOs, I can tell the level of stress they're under by how busy their assistants directly under them are and how many projects are being delegated out. almost like a managing of anxiety. Like
Mhm.
things need to be getting done. The more anxious of, reds don't usually have anxiety, but, under stress, people got to be working, right? Got to be moving. So they can be demanding. So a red goes under stress. They can demanding. They cause stress in others. So if everybody in the house is stressed out, you've got your CEO, red dads are home right now. There's probably a lot of little people that are a little stressed out. I would imagine,
Little people trying to homeschool with a stressed out red in the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. Our red executives who are home, women or men, they're going to want to see things moving in A to B, very task dominant. And actually under stress, reds become more productive and more successful.
No question. Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
That's why I don't panic. I think, like, if I procrastinate things, it doesn't really bother me because I know in the 11th hour, I'm going to knock it out of the park.
Right. Absolutely. And that's interesting because my secondary color is red. I have a lot of red, and I'm the same way. And I almost kind of take it for granted.
Totally.
Until I really F it up. That one time that I misjudged my timing.
Okay, what about blues under stress?
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit of the strengths of blues. Blues are very sincere. When they connect with people, they're dripping with sincerity. They don't very often know how to take a joke. So it's kind of fun to tease blues because they don't usually get the jokes.
Well, you're yellow. You think it's fun to tease everyone.
That's true. That's true. Blues are very thoughtful. They're the ones that handwrite the cards. They remember your birthday, attention to detail. They're dependable. You can always rely on a blue. They're honest, very honest people. They don't lie. And if they do lie, they're sick blue because blues do not lie. Blues are the best of the best, or they can be the worst of the worst. The spectrum between emotional health or being charactered, living in your strengths. A healthy blue is a completely different animal than a sick blue.
Yeah.
It's just the biggest thing. And the other thing about the blues is with the motives, and we talk about being under stress in these times, a red can get things done on their own. They don't need anybody else. They can get from A to B. A white gets peace on their own, obviously. A yellow can get their motive met. They can have fun on their own. I have a lot of fun doing things in my own hobbies or crafts, whatever. But a blue is the only personality that depends on another human being to have their motive met. It requires interaction of others.
Right.
It requires relationships. And so when a blue's not connecting, when they're not having healthy relationships, good connections, they're not getting their needs met. They need other people.
So I love that you're talking about this too, especially in the realm of sobriety, because it's something we talk about all the time. Obviously, you can't get sober by yourself, right? You can't be on your own. You can't isolate yourself and hide from the
Right.
world and lock yourself in your house and be successfully sober. It requires connection.
Right.
So that's even bigger for somebody that falls in that blue personality.
Yeah.
To know you have to be connected.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting because they're quite a paradox. Blues are very autonomous. They're really not great on teams because they're very capable, but they're autonomous. They like to work on their own because they're very particular also. Being autonomous, but yet having that motive of intimacy they're polarities, right?
Right.
They pull against each other. So I think oftentimes blues tend to isolate. They like to do their work on their own. A lot of blues like to shop on their own because they just get what they need done faster on their own. But yeah, the polarity of then needing to have that connection, but then also needing to have that autonomy.
So what is a blue going to look like under stress at home right now?
Okay. Worry, but they always worry.
Right.
So worry is the middle name. They wake up worrying. They're going to worry. They get depressed easily, and especially, not being able to serve others or not being able to do for others. If for some reason you're single and, you don't have family to serve or to do things for others, then that's going to be, and they usually do that outside your home. That's going to be really hard. They withdraw, under stress, withdraw. They avoid, which you would think that'd be more of a white thing, but blues do avoid. And then when they're stressed out, because again, they're autonomous, they want to fix things. Blues are very strong personalities. You don't ever fix a blue. You don't fix a blue. Blues will fix themselves, and they're very capable of doing it.
So should you leave them alone in this time if you have a blue in your house and you are seeing some of this worry and some depression, not severe depression, but obviously you said they can get depressed, withdraw, avoid. So should you leave them alone or should you make an effort to connect? Because their core thing is intimacy.
Yeah, absolutely. The worst thing you can do for a blue is abandon a blue.
Even if they're down and they're being sad and negative.
No, you don't abandon a blue. And oftentimes they can not be very nice. I mean, moody. Blues are naturally moody. Connect with the blue. I'll tell you, there's a trick to each of the colors, to each of that you can, and when I say own them, I mean have influence in a good way. Appreciate a blue. Just pick up the phone and just say, I'm thinking about you. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything you do. You appreciate them and you understand them. If you can understand a blue and appreciate them, sincerely, they'll know if you are not being sincere about it. I mean, seriously.
And that's all it takes with a blue. Okay.
Yeah. So just do a little bit extra. And that's really, it means so much to them to be appreciated and understood. With a red, if you want to own a red, makes sense to them. Whatever you're saying makes sense. We'll get into more about how to get along
and
best.
Don't waste my time for crying out loud.
Yeah. Be respectful of your time. Right. Exactly. With a white, be kind. And with the yellow, adore them. Those are kind of the tips. And I think we're going to talk about that too. A little bit.
Okay, what about whites? Peacekeepers.
One more thing I want to say about the blues is that during this time, they worry so much that they shouldn't handle the money in the family. That's just a little tip. That's not they can't. But if there is a competent other person can take the money part, a red can take the money part on, who doesn't get emotionally tied up in it. Blues are always worried financially because they're all about security. So under these circumstances, when in the financial stress, that if there's a partner can kind of pitch in and help out, if it's a healthy, good situation with taking over the responsibility so the blue doesn't have to worry so much, that would be something that would be beneficial for blues.
Yeah. What about whites, the peacekeepers?
I love whites. Whites are kind. They're just naturally kind. They teach us all what kindness means. Very satisfied. They don't have high expectations. It's very easy to satisfy a white, to perform well in a relationship with a white. And very good listeners. They are very patient and tolerant, and they're excellent listeners. So I think they're probably the best to do active listening, just sit and listen to people. Under stress, your white's going to close down. They're going to have a tendency to ignore what's going on, fantasize, go into la la land. They kind of like stuff their trash cans. The white just stuffs the stress. We'll, keep putting it into the trash compactor, stuffing it on until one day, and they won't say anything, so you won't know that they're stressed out. So a white under stress does not look stressed. You just won't see it until one day, like their shoelace will break and the lid comes off and they blow up. And everything comes out, of all the stuff that's just been stressed. They really kind of go along to get along. Reds don't have a trash can. They just, put everything out. Blues will get as much stuffed in there as they can. Yellow's trash can, there's a hole in the bottom, so everything just slides right out. But the whites, the blues will take out the trash for sure. They take out the trash, I will say. But the whites, you don't know until they blow up. So we talk about blame too. Blues blame themselves and then they blame others. They blame themselves briefly. But then they blame other people. Whites blame others briefly, and then they blame themselves. They don't point fingers too much.
I feel like I identify with a lot of white stuff.
You have a lot of white in your, a significant portion of strengths. And so then with the yellows are fun-loving and they're playful, and you're lucky if you got a yellow around during this, just to kind of keep things lightened up. Charming and social. It's got to be, I know it's very difficult for me not to be able to socialize, because just social creatures. We're all social creatures, but yellow's more than anybody else. And then under stress, they're another one that you're not really going to see that they're under stress. So yellows tend to jump ship. They're the ones that under stress, when things get tough, that you turn around and they're not there. Where'd you go? Superficial. They're not superficial in relationships. They're emotional and they make connections. Not nearly as deep as blues do, but they're very people orientated. But under stress, superficial.
Okay, what does that look like?
Yeah, great. I'd love to host that meeting for you. Okay, I'll be there. I'll do it. That way. You're snarling. Again, like I said, a yellow that can commit and be responsible, right? Maybe
Yeah, 'cause-
texting. Maybe, yeah, that would be more texting or briefly, not such the deep connections that way,
Okay.
Yeah,
I was snarling because I was thinking about my house leader person who, would just look me in my face. Yeah, absolutely no problem. And, certain things in sober living for sure, in a leadership position for sure, there are things that are going to be uncomfortable, right?
right.
It can be very awkward.
Yes.
And I'm always, right, because I'm a direct communicator, I'm always trying to be direct and simple. And is this okay with you? Does this bother you? If you want me to do it, I'm happy to do it. If it's too uncomfortable for you, if you just don't want to, whatever, but I need to know because it has to be done.
Right.
And he would look me right in my face like, yeah, no problem. Nope, I'm good. I can do it. I'm totally good with that. Nope, doesn't bother me at all. And then would not do anything. And I was like, what the heck? Did I just imagine that whole conversation? Like, how do you look me in my face and just blatantly lie? Like, I don't get it.
That's lying. So all colors lie except blues. I mentioned that earlier, but they lie for different reasons. Reds lie because they'll take care of it. They're going to take care of it. They know. That's like a red that, goes to apply for a job and they get asked, well, have you ever done podcasting before? You'd be like, oh yeah, absolutely. I've done it, can do it, because they know they can go research it and figure it out before. So when they show up.
Oh my gosh, totally.
How many times have you lied?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because
I
can.
Right.
Just because I haven't done it yet doesn't mean I can.
And because you can figure it out. If you
totally figure it out.
Right. So you're saying the same thing about a yellow. A yellow saying that, yeah, I can do it. They don't intentionally, they're not lying in that moment. They just forget they told you they're going to do it. They forget. They don't remember what they told you.
I think that you're the only yellow I will have.
That is very normal. There's always somebody that we have a hard time accepting, or I always ask this, who do you have a hard time with? What color? Right now it's yellows for you.
Yeah.
For me, it used to be reds. I used to really could not get along with, I thought they were mean.
Yeah.
Mean.
Mm-hmm.
I ran from them. I was guarded. But it was until I became more charactered and learned to value myself. That's the other big piece of it.
But I think there's a lot of good points in that, though, because I think for reds, just our personality, our motive being what it is, right? We can be very mean.
Yeah.
And it's not even that the intention is to be mean, right? It's just that I'm not effing around.
Right.
You're just not effing around.
Well, yeah.
But before, when I was a less healthy person, for sure I was mean.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't regulate myself, right? I didn't have the emotional maturity to regulate myself and understand there's a time and a place, and to understand that other people's feelings do matter, because I really genuinely did not care about that when I was an unhealthy person.
Right.
It was just about me.
Yeah.
Like a good alcoholic, it's all about me.
Exactly.
So yeah, it is a very different world when you have some emotional intelligence and emotional maturity.
Right.
Yeah.
Relational intelligence and maturity, which is what this is really too. On the lying, so I said the reds will lie because they'll get it done. The whites will lie because I'll just change. Like, yeah, okay, yes, I'll start calling. I'll just change myself. It'll be easier just to change me. And the yellows forget what they tell you. They forget what they said, or they forget what you tell them. But a blue doesn't lie. They're just they have that moral compass. And if the blue lies, they're sick.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So what does a yellow look like? Core motive fun. What do they look like under stress?
Jump ship, becomes superficial. And on the superficial, you asked about that.
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
that would be like calling somebody. Okay, I know I've got a blue friend, and I need to be, appreciate her and show her that I understand. So. Okay, so let's set up a time. Let's do a FaceTime call. And then if I'm a yellow, I am a yellow. But I tell my blue friend, I'm going to call you at 3:00. We'll do FaceTime. So we'll really connect. And we get on FaceTime, and then we're talking for a couple. Tell me what's going on. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, that's the Amazon guy. He's at the front door. I got to go. Let me call you back. I'll call you back. And then I forget to get back with you. That's kind of superficial stuff. Whereas a blue would never.
That's so true. That's so true. I have another friend of mine, and I say, in his world, I'll call you back is just a figure of speech. Like it's just something he says.
Yeah.
It means absolutely nothing. He is definitely not calling you back. He is not going to even remember he's supposed to call you back for a week.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I always say, I'm like, it's just a figure of speech. Like, don't get caught up in it.
Yeah. I think it's so funny. I said to you the other day, it's like now we're all home with the coronavirus and to get off the phone with somebody. I don't know, but I did see something on TV about the cell phone, the amount of phone calls that are happening now. Have you seen this? Verizon and these statistics out that they've like tripled the cell phone time for phone calls.
Right.
The text messages have gone down, phone calls and video, virtual FaceTime calls are gone up, which is awesome.
Yeah, everybody needs to connect right now for sure. That makes total sense to me. And one of the things I think that will, in the long term, be really beneficial about this situation that we're in right now with coronavirus is I think it is making us, in a lot of ways, get back to our roots. You know what I mean? And really communicating and spending time with our families and being outside. Like, how many people are we seeing just outside now? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like when I was young, when you were young, like we were always outside.
Right.
You couldn't pay me $1 million to be in the house when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Now all the kids are inside because they're on the computers and they're playing video games. They're on their phones and their iPads.
Right.
Now everybody's outside again.
Right.
And I think it's going to be a really cool shift to kind of get back to some simpler things.
Well, just relationship. I value relationships because life is all about relationships. And at the end of the day, we can have this great career, be super successful. But at the end of the day, it's the quality of our relationships that really determines like our health, our emotional health. And like you said, God, addiction and connection or intimacy are so closely intertwined, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a reason I drank. I know it was my tool, right? Instead of, especially with communicating or Reds at that time, who I thought were mean, I didn't have the tools at that time. And like color code is a tool, just like Miller Lite was a tool for me. Now I pick up my color code tools where I know that red is just not getting things done. A to B, A to B, A to B. And that doesn't intentionally being mean. He's just choking because he can't get his motive met. If I can go help him get his motive met, or even acknowledge and validate, what do you need, or how, what needs to get done here, then that person's going to get their motive met and they're going to give me what I need, which is fun and freedom and leave, the freedom to kind of do what I want to do. So I guess that's just been so huge, is knowing that other people are seeing the world and seeing things and perceiving things so much differently than I am. But when I understand that, then I have grace for them, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. My expectations are realistic. I'm not disappointed. And if I
not smothering the other person,
God,
right,
yes.
with your beliefs and what they should be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I can accept them and hold space for them to be who they are. Right. But again, it's like, I didn't know how to communicate with the Red because I would jump ship. I thought that was kind of not fun to be so critical. And I'd jump ship and just kind of go do something fun, which is what yellows do. They stay busy with fun things. Instead, now I understand where it's coming from and I can move towards it.
Yeah.
And instead of going and getting a Miller Lite out of the garage, I can move towards that and have that conversation with somebody and say, what is it that you're not accomplishing? What needs to happen here? And then that makes sense for the Red, and we connect and then move on and communicate.
What are some connection points with each color, like some do's and don'ts?
Okay. So, great question. So for a Red, you want to be prepared with facts and figures. You don't want to go from a emotional perspective. Like my daughter's Red. She hurts my feelings. She's 15 and not fun sometimes.
I think she's fantastic.
I know you do. You're not her mom. She can say some really hurtful things. But what I've learned through this is that if I go to her and I just, oh my God, the worst thing I could do is if she saw me crying. You're smiling, you kind of get that. It's like she loses total respect. It doesn't make sense to her.
Yeah.
So don't argue from an emotional perspective with a Red. You want to pull yourself together first and make it make sense and present material in a logical way. So I often say it's so easy to call out a Red when they're being critical or demanding. You just say, hey, time out. You have a point. Say it in a nicer way.
But I think too, a struggle for me is like the whole like wishy-washy thing. Like I'll get like sales emails, you know what I mean, which irritate the life out of me anyway, because they're so impersonal, right? It's like somebody randomly adds you to their email sequence thing, and it's so gross.
Yes.
And they're so just like, maybe let me know if maybe you think we might have something that we can connect on. It's like, come on, dude. What are you asking me? Like, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with this. Like, do you need something from me? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Don't be slow and indecisive with the red. So if you're indecisive by nature, figure out what it is that you want. And when you go to the red, you know, especially I would say like if you're, all the executives that are at home officing, and their partners or spouses and their kids, whoever's interacting with these reds, just don't go from an emotional perspective and don't be slow and indecisive. Facts, figures, brief, specific, and make it make sense. And you can own the red and you can get whatever you want.
Totally.
Don't you think?
For sure.
Yeah. Just like I just summed it up right there.
Perfect.
Moving on to the blues.
Yeah.
Like that? So with the blues, be sincere and genuine. Slow down. Make it, have that emotional connection. Emphasize their security in the relationship. I'm not going to leave you. I'm here. I'm committed. I'm in. They're just, they can be insecure that way.
Okay. So is that insecurity only in the interpersonal relationship, or can it be insecurity in your general security and stability? So is it always I'm not going to leave you, or can it also be like, everything's going to be okay?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Not about relationship or I'm going to leave you, but just that this general situation shit show that we're involved in right now.
Yeah. Like,
it's going to be okay. Just giving them that reassurance.
Got to be killing the blues because yes, it's security, financial insecurity, emotional insecurity, relational insecurity, the careers or, oh my God, what is this doing to the kids? Mothers who are blue, and the homeschooling, am I doing it right? They're constantly self-doubting, self-deprecating. So yeah,
that's a great point.
Everything's going to be great. Everybody's going to be good.
That's how you reassure a blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, they sometimes need to be reassured. They fix themselves, like I said before, but just saying, you've got this, you've got this.
Appreciation.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you appreciate about them and reminding them of what they do really, really well, because they wake up worrying, not just about what needs to happen today, but like all the stuff from yesterday and then all the stuff from today and then tomorrow. They're constant worry.
Right.
Yeah. So worry prone. Yeah. So reassuring on security in any way. You want to express appreciation for everything that they do, and not just thanks for doing the dishes, but hey, I noticed that you did the dishes and it really meant a lot to me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That type of a eye contact, connect.
I know my girlfriend one time, one of my other girlfriends, I heard her, and this is something you and I talk about a lot too, because of course we talk about relationships and boys and all that good stuff. And just in how we can so easily mistreat one another in relationships, right? We get complacent, we get entitled, and we get not very nice to each other. And I think we've all felt that. And I remember my girlfriend, she has this really awesome relationship. They're really good to each other, really appreciative. And I remember her saying to her husband one time, she just looked at him across the kitchen out of the blue, and she just looked at him and she was like, "You are such a good dad." Like, just that simple. And literally, it's like he just melted, in a split
she
second.
owns him, right?
And it was not a big deal, but it was so much validation and appreciation for him and who he was and who he was being and being present in that moment. You know, like it was just a really, really cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's saying those things, so a blue, that comes naturally. She probably was a blue. Those types of things to words of affirmation, to notice that about somebody else and to say it is a natural thing. And then when I tell blues this, that other people don't think about those things naturally. Like that's a character thing. That's something to like a yellow or a white may have the thought pop in their head. I really appreciate that. That's kind of cool, but they don't naturally say it. That would be something that would be a behavior that would be, you have to work on it. So like, I always say for blues, yellows wake up happy every morning. Like I wake up thinking about what fun thing am I going to do today? What's the fun? What do I have to look forward to? Then I always say the blues, like, okay, then you work on waking up happy every day. Do it for a year.
Right.
Try that. And that would be a good thing during this time for Blue, for homework. Work on waking up happy every day. And it's something that it's a learned trait or behavior, to kind of rewire your brain that way.
Yeah, for sure. I did it as a result of AA, right? Like being of service. And probably partly making amends too. When I think it was during amends, for those of you that aren't AA people, making amends are steps 8 and 9. So 8, you make your list of people to make amends to. In step 9, you actually make those amends, right? And there's a process and a strategy, and don't just go apologizing to people for stuff. Talk it through first with somebody that knows. But
yes.
But through the process of doing my amends, which was absolutely hands down my favorite part of all the steps, I just learned in those conversations how starved people are for validation and appreciation.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like people, when you sit down and make amends and you really own your stuff and how badly you treated them or something you said to them or whatever the case may be, when you really own that, it like you create an entirely different human being right in front of your eyes. People are starved for that because as human beings, we're not doing that for each other.
Right.
Right. So it was part of amends and then just service work, always be of service. My sponsor drilled into my head, mindful of others, mindful of others, mindful of others. And it just, after so many years, obviously, it just has become a part of who I am. But it's one of my favorite things. I'm totally the person that if I haven't talked to you in 2 years and you pop in my head, I'm going to text you and send you a heart. Right. Just I'm thinking about you, like I'm going to do that because I know that other person is going to appreciate it so freaking much,
I have had on my heart and my mind in the last couple of weeks, it's been so curious. I work with a lot of executives who put everything into their businesses and into their career. And oftentimes they get to the end of the career or start looking at, exit planning, succession planning. Oftentimes I'm working with them during that phase and they're looking at going home and they have brought leftovers home. Why do we bring leftovers home?
Leftovers meaning what's left over of you, not leftover food.
Yes, for clarifying. Yeah, but that's, it's
whatever energy you have left over to give.
So I would say that executives or people who have and entrepreneurs, people building businesses, people who have, very successful careers in general, any color. However, Blues specifically give so much at work. The Blues that I know, they will give so much to their jobs to do a good job because it's the right thing to do, that they exhaust themselves and they leave little to nothing left for their relationships.
Right.
And so now we're sitting and we're home because we don't have offices to go to. And there may be some awareness that comes now of how much our spouse or our partner did do for us, or how much it takes to take care of the house, to keep it going, right? And to do all the things with the kids. And that I brought leftovers home. I didn't bring my best. My company got my best. My coworkers got my team got the best of me. I didn't give my family the best of me. And I think that now is a time where we have a choice. And if you're sitting there and this resonates with you all, and you're realizing that maybe you gave your best not to your family or to your most important relationships, but somewhere else, it's not too late to change that. Like now's an opportunity that we have that I think is a huge gift to be able to, like you said, make those amends. If you see it and acknowledge it, change.
Yeah.
Change the trajectory of your relationships and it will change the trajectory of your life. If you choose to put into your relationships to where they're whole and balanced, why do we not put as much effort into our most important relationships, especially with our spouse or our partner, that we do at work? Why? And not just not putting anything in, but we treat the people that we love like crap.
For sure.
Not everybody, but oftentimes you and I talked about this earlier, you wouldn't treat your best friend the way that we would treat our partners or our spouses. We don't continue to do the things to bring the best of ourselves to our relationships. Like bring the best of you. Is your spouse, your partner, are your kids getting the best of you? Yeah. The other piece of this, Angela, is that you got to value yourself first.
Totally.
Right.
That's what I was thinking when you were talking about relationships and taking taking our partners for granted or whatever. What I was thinking too is I think that we get this weird insecurity that we're not being our best.
Yeah.
Right. And we start to withdraw because we know we're not doing our best.
Right.
We know we're not being our best self and giving the most of ourselves.
So what do? You
So
withdraw more.
You withdraw
right?
more. Right.
Right. Which is the worst thing you can do. You give less.
All right. So what about whites? What are some do's if you have a white in the house?
Okay. Just be kind. That's really, if you're kind to them, if you treat them kindly, it doesn't take very much. Listen quietly for them to express the completion of their thoughts. You fast talkers can get real impatient with whites because they are slow processors. And so they oftentimes that they need to come back, they'll think about something and then come back. So look for nonverbal cues like eye rolling or body language as to how they're feeling. And then maybe ask them a question and kind of draw it out a little bit more. Active listening works really well with them too. But don't expect strong social interaction. They're going to be camped out in their rooms. If you've got white kids, they'll be, just because they're not outside playing with other kids in the neighborhood, we shouldn't be playing with everybody else, but
not right now.
Yeah, they don't need the social interaction typically that the other personalities do. And there's nothing wrong. Blue mothers think that there's something wrong with their white children because there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, right.
No, that's just, they're good. They can play in their rooms all day.
Yeah.
They're just like that. They don't need it. And don't be emotionally intense and demanding of a white. They will run. They will shut down. And then a yellow, positive and upbeat, which I know is so hard when they're driving you insane from being irresponsible, or yellows can be really obnoxious. Be positive and proactive, not negative. Enjoy the playful teasing. They like to tease. For blues, don't take it so personally. Any color, if you don't take the yellow teasing so personally. Value their verbal expression, and they're very creative people. The blues and the yellows are very creative people. So they're the ones that will get the crafts going and all the creative stuff.
Okay, what do you mean with yellows value the verbal expression? Do they talk a lot or something?
They express themselves. Yeah. So yes, they do talk a lot. So a lot of times you think they're chatty, especially yellow kids are nonstop talkers, right? But when you think about that, and that's a gift, it's a natural gift of being able to verbally express themselves. They can be sassy. So as a parent, you just kind of maybe want to coach them, but they express themselves. They're verbal that way. So value it, I guess. Take it as a gift. Don't look at it as something as annoying.
I think it would be hard for me to recognize if somebody else was talking a lot because I talk so much.
So here's the thing with the yellows. You don't want to ignore them. They'll go away. We don't really get our feelings. We don't get crushed if somebody doesn't like us. No big deal. I'm just going to go hang out with people who do. Mm-hmm. That's fine if you don't like me. I'm going to go hang out with people who do.
I'm kind of like that too. Yeah, I don't mind if somebody doesn't like me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. So, and don't demand perfection from them.
What does that mean? In what way? Perfection? Like in anything? Like what does that mean?
Being critical. Okay, so I'm just thinking about I told you to clean your room. I'm thinking about kids.
Yeah.
I told you to clean your room, and then to go down there and see that it wasn't vacuumed. So don't expect a yellow kid to clean their room the way a blue kid would.
Okay.
A blue kid, you don't need to do inspections. You don't need to even ask a blue child to clean their room because they will already have had it cleaned. That kind of.
Okay.
Don't expect perfection from yellow. Yellow's level of what's good enough is not up to what a red and a blue is.
Yeah.
Or even a white usually. So if it's not fun, then it takes an effort to focus and concentrate on. If a yellow's not interested, yellows are very curious. So if they're not interested in what it is, and oftentimes chores or responsible things are not so interesting.
Well, yeah, they're not, and they're not fun.
No, but yellows are very mutable. Change. A yellow will change, not very fast, and often not the right thing, but they'll do it.
Yeah.
So just don't expect it to be perfect the first time. That's what I would say. Don't expect it to be.
Right.
Expect that you're going to have to do a little coaching.
Right, and that's what I was thinking when you said don't expect perfection. I was like, well, if they have a natural sort of irresponsibility, how do you raise responsible yellow kids? How do you teach? Things have to be done on time. You have to show up on time. You have to do things by a deadline, right?
Yes.
So how do you teach? How do you raise a yellow to do those things without being critical or You know what I mean? Or like reprimanding, I guess.
You take a positive, upbeat approach. Hey, I adore you, Brady. I adore you. But this gaming until 2 a.m. and sleeping until 2 p.m. is not cool. Got to change. That type of, you tell them how great they are and then say, but this laziness thing's not cool.
Yeah, because I feel like if you didn't have some of those conversations, like you're setting your child up for failure too, right? Because you're not going to be able to go out and function in the world. Certainly if you're someone that's going to have a job, right? Like you can't.
Oh, the biggest disservice we could do as parents is raise a yellow child and not teach them the strengths of a red.
Right.
Like not having a red parent for a yellow. If you don't teach them how to be responsible and they've got to show up, they've got to get their homework done, they've got, to do things in life. It's the biggest disservice that we could do to society is to unleash a yellow that's not responsible or doesn't know.
Yeah. To society, but to that person too.
Well, yeah.
I mean, well, I love this. Thank you so much for sharing all this great information with us too. I love talking about this stuff. It's so fascinating to me, and I know the listeners love it too. So if you guys check your show notes, we have a link where you can go on and take the personality assessment and see what color you are. And then we'll have some other fun stuff coming up with this too. If you have jumped in the membership site, the Inner Circle, we're going to be doing some regular segments in there about color code too. Carrie and I will get a little more in depth with some of this stuff and answer your questions. So keep that in mind too. And again, check your show notes. All the regular things will be in there. Join the Facebook group because all the announcements for everything, how to join the membership site, how to get the color code assessment, sending us questions, all of that magic happens in the Facebook group. So you definitely want to jump over and join that facebook.com/groups/addiction unlimited. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Don't touch your face and don't touch anybody else's face. I'll see you guys next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.